So here we are back in Mittenrahm, in the Brackenrahm. Work has been done, as always, not from this side. Well, you can probably see a tiny bit of it on the upper cathedral, because we have gotten to that point where I am now working on the top part to bring it up to completion. In some cases, these have been sat here for like 6 months, half finished, because I basically built half. But yeah, I'm gonna do the flying buttresses today. Part of them are already in all along the upper part of the roof, and then there'll be the ones down here and whatever else goes in. Once that's all in place, I'll actually worry about the buildings that go here. Probably do the towers as well. I don't consider them part of the outer decoration, where I put in, on the underside, I put in all of these little extra houses sticking out, or extended the rooms outward slightly, so that'll all be done. And then I'll probably drop down to do the cloister, possibly. I think what I'll do is I'll probably build the wall out while I'm doing the cloister, but the actual cathedral halls down here won't be done until afterwards. I think when I did the below section, I think that's the way I did it, because I mean I could just keep building the wall round and round, but it means remembering how the cathedral goes as well as remembering how the cloisters go. So I'm basically trying to remember two different pieces of building at the same time. So I'll probably stick to the cloister by itself. It's going pretty smoothly because it's very repetitive and not the first time I've done it. So yeah, I need to put in some access here. It was easier on the lower level, because this is all upside down, so I'm standing on the ceiling below, and then there was a trapdoor here that you had a ladder that, this was the floor, so you had a ladder to come down in. And then there were stairwell access points, as in here there's nothing. I don't have a way down from this location. Because I think what you do, you got out onto this surface, and then, I don't know, staircases? I'm sure when you get to this point, do you know, I can't for the life of me remember. Weird. I think because there's a lot of ground down on the lower parts, so I'm thinking that maybe the mud was all the way up to here, so you'll get inside of this, and then there's a stairwell up, which is what there is at the moment. Or there will be, probably a stairwell, because I put in stairwells underneath in these corners. Yeah. Oh, picked the wrong corner. Typical. Anyway, I'm getting sidetracked. So, the tree that has always been standing here for forever has now been given leaves and vines and glowberries. Oh my. I'm reasonably happy with it. It's very cramped, obviously. Again, this is a product of the fact that when I was conceiving the building, the idea that there was a tree growing through the middle of it wasn't there. So, you know, I'm making the best of that situation. Yeah, it's, I mean, I think I'm happy with it. There is actually something I've forgotten to do, which is, because I opened out the lower levels down here, because they used to be the, you know, I threatened for ages to get rid of this, essentially. This structure here used to extend all the way down to the very other end of the tree, and you know, I peeled it all the way back to just this remnant. And because I've done that, there's actually room to twist the tree a little more. So, you know, it's leaning up against the edge here, but I could pull it out slightly further, you know, or at least probably go in the other direction would make more sense. Although looking at it now, it's not too bad. But I think if you stop and look at it properly, you realise that it never leaves the confines of this circle, of this ring, which, you know, it's pretty heavily disguised now. I knew the vines were going to go mental. This is inevitable. I know you can stop them with string, and you can turn off vine growth as well, but, you know, just let it take its course. As threatened, these have all been decorated. All some variation of birch tree, which I believe are saplings from the last birch tree in Soren. And then they all got decorated the same. Various flowers. I didn't use tulips, don't really know why. But it's basically just a variation of 5 flowers. And I'm noticing now that for some reason I almost never used the allium. I was carrying it the whole time, and I did use it, but clearly not very often. So the tree continues on down like this until we obviously get to. Am I going to fit in here? I'm not going to get in there. And get down to here, and yeah, the heart has had a tiny bit of work done. The basic shape is still in place, that hasn't been altered, but I put in these roots and these panes to try and connect them together to make it more clear that the heart is growing the tree. That's the source of its growth. And the same thing is done down here, because this obviously extends all the way down to the bottom, and this has been seen. It got the same treatment, a little bit more lightly. I didn't want to go crazy, because this doesn't end with another tree at the bottom going the other way. It ends with a root system connected to Dagath's remains. So there is a difference, essentially. So I've treated them differently. And again, this is what happened essentially is that the heart of life has fired both downwards and upwards, which we'll see back in a minute, because there is actually something at the top that I forgot. It fired downwards, and it may be being used to kickstart the growth of Dagath's son, Dagath Mark II. It's difficult to know how to refer to it. But this is the beginning of a geode. There's something living, essentially living inside, and it's now being surrounded by other elements. And the magma is going to be the outer basalt layer containing it when it's all done. But I really need to actually come back down here, because there was a diary that I started. I may have actually accidentally destroyed it, or unintentionally destroyed it. Anyway, there was a diary that was down here that was meant to present Daniela's viewpoint on the construction of the Aethruhn, and basically provide law for the building. I was not happy with how it was going, so it got pulled out into a separate file, and I haven't touched it since. But I really would like to include it. But I'll get back up to the top and show you the bit that's missing. you've actually seen it. It is part of another video. Bedoing. It's the bell. I went a little bit more on the decoration I was expecting. Planning. I had been threatening to swap it to netherite with some gold, which obviously was done, and then I put in this for extra decoration. Killed the beacon, obviously. Can't have both. I mean, I could put a little beacon in here, but I don't really see the point. So, like the tomb, or the sanctuary of Dagath, as it's called, the Heart of Life fired upwards and came up all the way through the tree and struck the bell. And the bell vibrates beyond human hearing, but can be heard by one very specific creature whom they came here to face, which I think I've explained before. That's why they're here. It's a little bit incongruous with the fact that there is clearly provisions on board to be on board permanently. I've provided space for growing crops and keeping cattle, and there are resources. I didn't do it in the end, but there was going to be a clear location for basically for mining, that they would be able to find asteroids or chunks of material and, well, as I say, mine it. There's already provisions in place for refining and smelting, a couple of them. And we've got a big one here where the 3 chimneys are, but there's actually another section in the under half, or the lower half, that also has furnaces somewhere in there. So yeah, there was intended to be a oh god, what do they call it? Fully functional, fully independent vessel. Wouldn't really rely on anything. Yeah, so this was not much. This was intended to be the main place, and then I had the idea that the chimney stacks could be on the outside and visible. So this is now just like a secondary. I'm actually looking at this thinking, yeah, that's nicer. Anyway, so that's what I've been doing, and we're looking at, you know, this has gone quite quickly, and I really don't know anymore how long it's going to be before it's finished. There is some more challenging things to do still that may have me stopped, you know, slowed, because I have to really stop and think about what I'm doing. No idea how that was supposed to be finished. Did I completely forget to do a support? But yeah, I shall say adieu, and try and find my way back out. Ta-da!